Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Aniket from EDS Technologies and I will be your host for today's webinar. First of all, we thanks each and everyone for taking out time and joining the webinar, ensuring product data quality with QChecker. So now I would like to introduce Mr. Chandrakant Akhade. Chandrakant is an experienced professional with over 18 years of experience in areas of IT, CAD and PLM technologies. He has a demonstrated success for managing various CAD PLM projects and services in various industries vertical by means of positive attitude to manage customer issues and escalations. So I request Mr. Chandrakant to give a short brief about the EDS Technology corporate profile.
Okay, good afternoon all. On behalf of EDST, I welcome you all for today's webinar on ensuring product data quality with QChecker, which is organized along with our strategic partner Technia from Karlsruhe, Germany. My name is Chandrakant Akhade. I manage EDST Pan India Technical Support. I am based out of Pune. Today we have some interesting session aligned with our presence of industry experts from EDST as well as Technia. Before we go ahead with some interesting sessions lined up, I'll just go through our EDST corporate profile. As you can see, we are one of the largest PLM provider in India for close to 3 decades now. Today, we are present in almost 10 locations across India, and we are headquartered out of Bangalore. We have almost around 200 plus associates and serving to 2,000 plus satisfied customers. As you can see from the slide, we are primarily platinum partner of Dassault Systems in India, wherein we support many brands representing primarily from 3D experience platform point of view. As well as apart from that, one of our strategic partner Technia from Adnode Group is there. Yeah. Then we also represent is ESRI for GS solutions, Synopsys for EDA automation tools, Mac technologies for all types of terrain, war gaming scenarios creation, and one of the strategic important partner from ergonomics perspective, we represent Humanetics in India. So yeah, talking about our business portfolio, as mentioned earlier, primarily from Dassault Systems 3D Experience platform, we represent all types of virtual twin solutions. As mentioned here, for CATIA, Simulia, Innovia, and Delmia for respective modeling as well as simulation for enterprise collaboration and digital manufacturing aspects. QChecker, today's topic, interesting topic of discussion is represented by Technia only. Apart from that, we are also into 3D printing, as you can see on the slide. EOS Metal Systems is and polymer 3D printing printers we represent in the industry, which are primarily from aluminum as well as stainless, titanium, tool steels, and many other metal alloys, as well as polymer from PA11, P12, and many thermoplastic elastomers. That is one of the important solution we represent from almost 3 to 5 years now. One slide earlier, yeah. Thanks, Aniket. Synopsys is one of our another important solution that we represent, and primarily from business consulting point of view. Whenever our customer buys 3D Experience platform or any other solution from PLM, PDM, or project management perspective, we help them consulting the entire design processes, their change management, entire integration for their ERP aspects, and quality management through our implementation, dedicated implementation team through our business consulting. So this overall represents our portfolio from EDS Technologies in the industry. Yeah, so I'll just quickly introduce our today's esteemed speakers. So we have Mr. Herbert Wibig from Technia, Germany, who is a QChecker product specialist. He has more than 25 years in the domain of product data quality compliances and is with Technia for more than 25 years now. Throughout his career, at Technia, Herbert, as a Q checker and PDQ product specialist, provided hundreds of training for customers like Mercedes, BMW, and helped customer adopt the product data quality initiatives. Yeah. So next, our speaker is from EDS Technologies, senior solution consultant of QChecker, Mr. Sushil Punaskar. He has more than 20 years of experience in automotive engineering design and development. Worked with major of the automotive OEMs and in Europe, like Tata Motors, Mahindra and Mahindra, FCA, Volvo, McLaren, just to few, name to few. He specialized in BIW design and development, composite carbon fiber BIW design, then automotive ergonomics and occupant packaging. He is currently working as a senior consultant at EDS Technologies for QChecker, Ramsys, and our Kava solutions from Technia. Our one of the speaker next is Mr. Satyam Pandey, who is application engineer in technical support from EDS Technologies. Over 3 years of specialized experience in automotive and two-wheeler industry, Satyam has contributed to numerous, really high-profile projects. Leveraged his knowledge to support product development of innovative solutions that meet stringent industry standards. His ability to analyze and interpret complex data has been key in driving ergonomics improvements from concept to final production. So we'll have next interaction by Technia brief by Mr. Herbert now. Over to you, Herbert.
Yep. So good afternoon from Germany. So I will just say a few words about Technia and what we do. Next slide, please. So Technia has some numbers. We have more than 6,000 worldwide customers. We have more than 500 expert consultants. We have more than 400 enterprise projects. 43 of them are in the Fortune 500. We have more than 33 offices, more than 30 years of experience. So we are a reliable partner. So next slide, please. And you see the global reach. Basically, only the Antarctica is missing. And in India, we have own office as well, but we have for sure the EDS partners, which are reliable partners as well. Next slide, please. So, and Technia, the software and global services, this is one department. We have a global team in Sweden, Germany, France, UK, Slovakia, India, Japan, and US. We have 70 research and development experts and same number of service experts. We have strong CATIA and Innovia and 3D experience knowledge. We know the APIs, we know how to develop software for those programs. We have business process integration expertise and extending expertise on Delmia, Apriso, Cameo, Rectify, Daimola. And so this is growing. And 50 reseller partners for the global coverage. And we do standards products, same as custom development. Next slide, please. So this is some of our products. So when I start on the right, we have Exchange. This is a sort of exchange hub for suppliers. Then we have the Light 3D software. It starts with the viewer for JTs and step files, but it contains also plugins. Something like we call it Light Comply. It's doing something similar like the Q checker. It ensures the compliance with any data quality rules. We have an X compare, so it's called Light Compare as well, to compare two versions of JT models. And as well, we have the Kava, which is doing the car homology on the basis of JT files. We have S4Manage, it's a document managing system. And then I turn to the left. I start from the top. This is the 3D Experience group. We have the integration framework where 3D Experience can be connected to other systems like SAP, for example. Then we have MyPLM, a startup tool to define several environments and softwares and add-ons, manage all that. Imagine if you're a supplier for 2 or 3 or 4 OEMs, you have to manage all these software environments for the OEMs, and MyPLM will help you on that. And then we have the value tools that bring a better integration for 3D experience. And then we come to the CATIA section. So the CATIA V5 mainly. Cover, for example, is okay. It's available for CATIA V5 and CATIA V6. It's the car homology. So if you have to check the height of a bumper, the mirrors, all the visibility on the car, the lights and that stuff, so we can check that the legal rules are respected. Then we have the Q checker. Originally a product from Transcat. They were the inventors. And but then the story came on. So by Transcat was bought by Dassault, but then was bought out again. So QChecker is originally was originally a Technia product, let's call it like that, but it's owned by Dassault now. So it's a Dassault product now, but we still have the developers in our offices that develop the QChecker on behalf for Dassault. And you can imagine, if I have a question, I just cross the office, go to another desk and ask a developer directly. You couldn't have shorter ways. And EDS is the same. They write me a mail, we have a call, and we can contact the directly developers. Where anywhere else is that possible? I do not believe that. So next software we are selling is or developing is XCompare, to compare two CATIA V5 models, cut parts, for example, or even cut products as assembly. Same for cut drawings, we can compare everything. And then we have another 3D experience section. So it's the value components where you can easily customize 3D experience. The value components help you to do that in a very quick way. And we have Light My Way. This is a supporting tool. So we can have tooltips for all the functionalities with the useful hints and tricks and tips what to do next. And even we can give good advice for what is to be typed in next time. So this Light My Way is can replace and support all the human support you might need, and it reduces as well the number of training hours for a new systems because you get a good guideline. So that was a lot. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope I am audible. So myself, Sushil Punaskar from EDS Technologies, looking after Technia products, technical support. So I think next 25 or something minutes, I will take you through this interesting presentation of QChecker, and we'll talk about in detail about the product data quality, why it's important, and how it can be. Yeah, hi. So Myself, Sushil Punaskar. Basically, I work in ADS Technology as a uh, uh, technical support manager for QChecker and other products. So we'll in next 25 minutes we will speak about the product data quality and why how QChecker can help you ensure that throughout the development process of any kind of product. So in any organization, why do we have a need of product data quality? Is basically we just a moment. Yeah, so it's product data quality is a measure of the accuracy and appropriateness of the product data, so that the models combined with the timeliness with which the data are provided to all the people across the line or down the line. Across the line in the sense in the same company, down the line in the sense providing data to the supplier and sub community. So from this short, we can estimate indicate that product data quality indicates necessarily to create, ensure, maintain, deliver and release right quality data all the time to all the concerned stakeholders. This is very important. But why to do this basically? Thereby we save time, cost, efforts, and delays in the development process. And eventually, why we are doing this is basically to remain sustainable in the business. That's the final motive of this whole story. So QChecker can help you reduce humongous amount of cost all the way. So we'll see how what is the scope of the PDQ or the product data quality throughout from concept to launch of the product. Is a sample image of a developed car. So we start with there are a lot of phases of car development or any kind of product development. We start with concept designs, we do lay modeling, then engineering, detail engineering, feasibilities. Then we do the meshings, CA analysis, manufacturing is a big phase again, and eventually to production. So we have a product confirmation gate at the first start. Then we have a lot of release milestones on the way, like V0, virtual gateways are there, FDJ, final data judgment, or the tool kickoff gateways are there, VP and PP gateways are there, and SOP, and finally the launch phases are there. So throughout this product whole development process, there is a need and importance of qualified data to be made available to all the stakeholders. And why we say that is there's a reason behind that. Like in industry, we always say that CAD is a master. The CAD is a nominal master that we totally believe in. So there are there are 8 to 9 stakeholders are mentioned here around the CAD data, but there can be running into tens of hundreds of internal external customers of the data. So they have interaction with the CAD data from all the stakeholders. They use the data, they refer the data, they do their post-processing on the data, and they rely on the data. But if the data is faulty, you will totally have a very messy situation about in the whole company about that particular project or the data. So this is not a very good situation because you eventually eat up a lot of time, cost, efforts, and money eventually to launch the products, to finish the projects in time. So what we in timely mean to say is that your lot of time, effort, cost can go exponentially waste due to data errors, and there can be number of projects running. There can be number of departments that could be using your data. There can be number of milestone in each project, as we saw last image, and there can be a number of internal external customer that could be referring your data. So your losses can go exponentially high in terms of time, efforts, and cost. So QChecker can help you restrict that or arrest that issues right in the creation level. Yeah. So let's take a very interesting slide here. Why we are there's a evidence for supporting that. So what are the modern tools increase productivity and save time and cost? So for example, in very olden days, we had this coordinate tolerancing method of dimensioning the things like plus minus tolerancing, what we call it in the layman language. Then we adopted some decades back to geometric tolerancing, which is a synonym of GDNT or FT or 3D PMI. It's the one and same name. But there is a tangible benefits of doing this. Just by moving from coordinate dimensioning to geometric tolerancing, we get 56% more tolerance zone are available to achieve the parts interchangeability. So that that technically means is that less chances of good parts getting rejected. I mean, you have very less chances of good parts that has a scope of getting selected. So there will be no rejections. So no rejections means you can really gain from that sales of that parts. So that's a tangible benefit. Similarly, in any company, we have this release checklist in any company maintained by CAD author in the company, or a single guy in the company who maintains this CAD release checklist. But this is a quite an old scenario. It's a traditional method of doing checking. But now we have a queue checker which can help you save many hours and days and weeks cumulatively uh, in the whole development process of the product by just implementing this queue checker solution in the company. So PDQ in the process is actually what we want to emphasize is that there is a designer and there is a downstream users of the design of the data created by the designer here, and there are n number of downstream users of that data, same data. So in usual scenario, without the philosophy of product data quality in company, more than 50% of the time in this his whole day is actually a repair and communication with the designer, and then getting the updated data back, again complaining. So this is all a repair and communication method. It's a two-way, it's a multiple time happens. But this designer who knows the philosophy of PDQ rules and is sticking himself to the data rules, he's declaring that my created data is fine. I'm restricting to the PDQ rules, and then this eventually this downstream users time can reduce their time of their downstream processes and gain a lot of time and time reductions, and eventually the cost basically. So then these downstream users also deliver their work faster to the next users. So that's how we fasten our development process totally. So the total time saved can be many hundreds of hours, man hours per project, which is actually a tangible gain. You finish the products in time or maybe before that, and that's actually a tangible gain from the implementation of queue checker in the process. So usually we see how CAD data is checked manually is basically there is a CAD release checklist, there is a pre-delivery checklist, and there are some Excel files which are Excel files maintained. Then actually this is not a good way because it's a manual checking, it's a repetitive, monotonous, it kills the designer time. Designer can't really focus on his real work of designing. So it's a do and check method, which is a reactive method, but the right method is to do proactive way of working, like check while doing method. That's more technically right thing to do. Many designers may not be aware of this PDQ importance, so they make their own mistakes due to unaware or no training imparted. Can be they can make their own things. In the release pressures, we always say that we don't have time to check the designs. We have to just release the design. That's a very classic statement in the end of the releases. But then what we can do is we can technically migrate this all Excel files to a altogether different CAD standard, and we can migrate both these to a queue checker profile here by implementing queue checker in the company, which has more than 400 checks, very intelligently built queue checker checks, looking at the needs of the designers. And then what we try to emphasizing here is that we shall always create, deliver, maintain, and release the qualified CAD data design, also the development process. So basically, there are two aspects of PDQ, product data quality. One is geometrical checks, which are importance-wise, they are 20% important. But there are other checks like methodology checks, which are actually 80% important in the whole development process. Why we are saying that, we'll look in the next slide. So what are the typical geometrical checks, like position sketches used or not? We know what if position sketches are not used, what mess it can create in the data, that we know all. Then the other checks can be like sample, hide all planes, points, lines, curves before saving. That's a good sanity check to be followed. Then all deactivated features should not be there in the part. Assembly constraints should always be updated. That's again a very important check. Then if the datum sequence is correct or not, that is also again datum sequence can be wrong. If at all the datum sequence exists in the part or not, that also can be is a very good information. Fake dimensions should not be there. So these are all typical geometrical checks. But if we talk about the methodology checks, You can use this Q checker to build a lot of interesting methodology checks like paint offset parameter for paint weight calculation throughout the product. It can be achieved with the help of Q checker. Surface area parameter of the cathode depositions in the vehicle can be that weight can be known with a simple weight script here. And material applied or not in the cat part, again, it can be very interesting. We'll see in the couple of slides here. So what we totally mean to say is that QChecker can help you build a lot of interesting methodology checks, irrespective of any industry. It can be any type of industry where the data is created. QChecker can help you build very interesting checks around it. So to support that, I have a next slide here. It's a very simple, like every part must have a part material applied to it. It's a basic requirement of design that the material should be specified. And this material is actually used by a lot of downstream users like CE team, DME team, metallurgy team, vendor development team, BOM management team for their reviews and etc. And also by the release engineer at the end of the release and so on. There are a lot of customers of the data with this information. So you can just have one parameter in the cat part like material parameter and suitable material applied to it. And you can have this total mass also calculated in the part itself. So this information can readily flow into the PLM system without any hassle. And then, for example, if it is a simple part, that's okay. But any complicated geometry like the complete body in white, where there are hundreds of parts and assemblies together, the scenario becomes quite tricky. And there's a Q checker check for this, that material assignment must be exist on the element. So this information can readily flow, and just by application of this parameter, you can, with the help of PLM system, you can know all these things. These all people life can get easier if they know this material and weight directly in their BOM creation after PLM system. So this is one of the sample check that I implemented. I just wanted to say, but there can be hundred of such methodology checks can be implemented, so that there is no the downstream users will be always happy with your data. Now we'll see typical checks. There are some sample checks what can be done with QChecker. Altogether there are 400 checks. It's not possible to demonstrate everything in here. We just built some interesting checks for you. So QChecker can check if it is a dimension is true or it's fake. So that it can highlight, it can block that check. It can arrest that, give a warning for that. Then the designer has to go back and correct his designs accordingly. Then again, there can be some, now this is truly for start part creation of any component. It can check whether certain geometrical sets are available or not in the CAD part. It's very important. As a final output from the geometry, that certain elements should always be published. Now you can choose what should be the output from your CAD part. Like for example, here the part body and the DSM or the final surface is actually published. But you can choose any part to be published, and you can have a check for that. Unless these minimum things are published, your design will not go through in the Q checker. So that's a clear warning from the Q checker. For example, in the drawing scenario, many times the text overlap on each other. There is a check available for that. In the big drawing, we really don't know where the texts are colliding with each other. So there's a check available for that. Solid wall thickness is like we can specify how much thickness, minimum thickness that we want to allow. So in plastic industry, or maybe bumper, or maybe IP or cockpits, there are a lot of scenarios where we use a lot of Boolean operations. After the Boolean operation done, we don't know really whether that remove or add is creating any kind of minimum thicknesses in the part. So for example, this only come to know when we send our final design to the tool maker, who then can run their mold flow simulations, and then he found that there are certain areas that are not fillable properly, or not completely fillable by the injection pressures. So that can be completely mess. Then he will complain, he will ask for the releases of the component. It will take another time. So it's a very important check. There is a check available in QChecker. There's again a body in white panel here. So there's a slight discontinuity. So if it is not checked, it will go directly to the tool maker, which is obviously not going to accept it. because due to the data quality, his tool quality, he will never sacrifice for you. So he will again ask for a re-releasing the components here. So that's again a time consumption, efforts, and cost. Then there's some simple checks like self-intersecting solid surfaces. QChecker can readily identify and give it as an error to the designer. Then he has to go back and correct these designs. Again, there are ample number of checks for the FTA and FT and GDNT related stuff. So one simple check is that the capture name and the view name should always be same. It has to be by default, obviously, but there are many incidences that designer can make unknowingly these two different names. So QChecker can check that stuff also. It can check whether there is an unused datum. So a lot of time when we change our datuming system due to many reasons, we forgot to use or delete the previous datums. So QChecker can identify that as some unused datum is remaining. So otherwise, this information can go to the product manufacturer, and he will. There are good chances that he will complain and ask for the releasing of the component again. Yeah. Now this is very simple for the sheet metal industry, like this arrow, red arrow, or the metal thickness direction should always be in the same direction of the red arrow direction. They should never be opposing each other. It's a very simple check, but many designers are not aware. So QChecker can restrict that. Yes, both directions in the both arrows should be in the same direction. So there's a check available readily in the QChecker. And very simple again, like defining work object, we should always have this at the final body level, not at the intermediate level. I have seen many examples so far that in the intermediate level, the define is done, and in the same state, it is released to the next state, or the final release is done. So incomplete designs are released again due to errors. So this can be restricted. Such silly errors can be restricted at the very root level. It can check whether the sketch is fully constrained or not, and it can pop up that as a trouble and the error. And the designer has to necessarily go back and change this over constrained or under constrained geometries to the fully constrained as per his design intent, of course. Then it can check whether the character size or the nomenclature is having certain length criteria to it. For example, here the maximum 25 character length is allowed here. The moment any designer try to give some hyphen or underscore or something extra, so that will be arrested right at the creation level itself. So there is a restriction available for that. Now, at the left, we have very messy geometry here, a lot of unwanted surfaces, line points, and curves are there. So with the help of QChecker, with a very intelligently built profile, you can completely, in a click of a button, you can completely get rid of this and make it look like the final finished component here. So that is possible with QChecker. You need not go back to every geometry, find it in the structure, and then hide it manually. It can be done at just one click of a button. Again, very important, the general notes or the tables in the drawing should always be driven from the parameters in the part or CAD drawing. They should not be touched manually. So, and there is QChecker has a check whether it checks whether this part parameters or the text in the drawing is always linked to the parameter here. So there is a check available in the QChecker. Again, product data clash detection. Clash detection is another check in QChecker, though it is again there is a SPA license there where you can check the clashes, etc. But this check is also given in the QChecker also. Again, you can have a limit on your CAD part size. For example, any company can decide that none of our part can exceed 100 MB as a policy or the CAD standard. Yes, you can keep that as a restriction in QChecker so that the designer has a very disciplined approach of modeling the designs or CAD designs. Then you 100% ensure that there are no unwanted or dead solids and surfaces lying in the component without our notice. Then you will have there are no surprises at the release time, and you will have a very kind of good and hassle-free release at the end. Yeah, so it's the sample one example here from my side. Very interesting. I will just explain you what I mean to say here. So in your QChecker, different depending upon the industry, you can have different geometrical sets as per the requirement. For example, for the plastic industry, you can have this movement tooling, slider, lifter directions as one of the geometrical sets. Sheet metal industry can have this blank developed, part without holes, part with holes, geometrical sets. So QChecker can ensure that certain geometrical set names should always exist in the CAD part. Unless they are followed, QChecker will pop up that as an error in the CAD part. And unless the designer ensure that there is certain geometrical sets are available in the CAD part, he can't really pass the designs in the QChecker. So the design finally coming out of the CAD stations will be 100% compliant according to your needs. So just one example, few example I took here. So for example, one example is that datum point should always be there. So the restriction that all parts should have a datum points. So there can be primary datum points 6, and there can be number of secondary also. So QChecker won't allow to pass this design unless there is a certain geometrical sets are available. And furthermore, one step forward, QChecker can also check whether these geometrical sets are not empty. So they should always be filled with some information in it. So there is a one extra step protection for protecting your designs and CAD designs for that. For example, for the seating industry, seating OEMs, you take a lot of reference surfaces, seat trim outlines. So you can keep a restriction like there should always be a seat trim of outline geometrical set, and without that, the part will not be released. So that restriction you can implement in QChecker, and so that you're completely headache free. That yes, all my designs or CAD data will have this geometrical set from the beginning itself. Then for the sheet metal industry, you're like blank developed surfaces should be kept in the certain folders or certain geometrical sets. Also, QChecker can ensure that if this geometrical set is not available, then it will stop or it will pop up as an error all the time unless the designer really creates the blank out of it and keeps in this folder. Yeah. Then for the again for the body in white industry, you can keep a geometrical set for 2 panel spot, 3 panel spots, or maybe adhesive beads. Yeah, there can be n number of situations. I'm just giving some examples, some interesting examples to you. So this is irrespective of any industry, irrespective of any department. There can be some electrical check, there can be some manufacturing checks, etc. Then for the molding industry, there can be some lifter directions which should be kept in some typical location, geometrical set as a collection. You can choose to do that with QChecker. Again, for the body in white industry, there are a lot of information which is important for the downstream plant people like drain holes and etc. So coordinates and the hole diameters, etc., can be kept in certain geometrical sets. It's very, very important. So you can set that unless a drain hole geometrical set exists, the QChecker will not let the design pass the criteria. I think that was some samples. What I mean to say, what you can really implement with QChecker. This is just few samples, but uh, you can have n number of such scenarios to be used. Again, I'm at the end of the session, at the end of the slides now. I think we'll just brief through that. What are the different platforms that QChecker is supported by? So if you go to this downloads page in the Technia website, you will see all these big list of products that Technia offers. Out of that, QChecker for V5 is one of the platform, one of the application that we are looking for now. But not just the V5, it is also available for the 3D experience platform also now. So it is equally available right now for the 3D experience also. And not only that, if any company using CATIA V5 now and they soon plan to migrate to 3D experience, there's a migration possibility also possible. So you need not worry about that also. There's a migration policy also. Your QChecker V5 will be migrated to QChecker V6. That is also possible. Secondly, this example is a QChecker version. It's a CATIA V5 version. What I mean to say is that it has a forward and backward compatibility also. So there are certain QChecker versions listed here on so and so dates here. Uh, Typical releases are there, and these versions support these CATIA releases. So what I mean to say is that there is a CAD platform upward and downward compatibility and support. So QChecker is not a very kind of a static one in nature, but it moves with your native CATIA release also. Yeah, it's a developed completely upward and downward also. And there's a support from Technia and EDS all throughout to the customers in India. Technia, this again slide is by Herbert. Again, same slide. I just try to modify. But what I mean to say is that it's a global reach company. It has a global presence, as Herbert said, but it has a local presence also. In India, we have offices in Technia offices in India. So there's a local presence also to reinforce the confidence of the product to the customers. I think that was it from my side, and there are I just like to cover the OEM list here. QChecker is very popular among the OEM community. There are some aerospace companies here. You see big names here. Some transportation and locomotive industry, big names again, and automotive, of course. It's very favored amongst the OEM community. But not just that, Tier 1 supplier community is also equally very interested in QChecker, because there is a cost penalty nowadays if due to any Tier 1 supplier mistake or any error in the data due to the data supplied by Tier 1. If there is any glitch or any problem happens in the release process of the OEM, then there is always a cost penalty imposition on the Tier 1 supplier. So they are actually at threat due to this penalties. So they take extra care, not extra, but the multiple times more care than the OEMs when they provide data to their customers and OEMs. So it's very popular among the Tier 1 industry also. Again, in India, we have a lot of happy customers, Lear Corporation, Gabriel, Veroc, and there are some government agencies also, which I don't want to mention here, but they use QChecker for their daily data quality assurances and CAD quality checks. So that was it from my side. I think Aniket, yeah, I think that was it from my side. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sushil. So now, Mr. Satyam, he would give us a demonstration, live demonstration.
So very good afternoon, everyone. I hope the day is getting so good. And thank you, Sushil, for sir, for sharing such wonderful insight of and presentation of the QChecker. So now I'm taking you to the QChecker platform. So we have the native CATIA V5 here. Yes, and just to minimize this. No, just to minimize this. Let me cancel this out. Yes. Just hide the control panel. Yeah. So this is the typical CATIA V5. I hope my screen is visible as well as my audio is there for everyone.
Yes, yes, Satyam, it is.
Yes. So this is one I have an assembly model of the crank drive for four cylinder, and we have similar to that Q checker environment. So all those checks we are talking about, all those 400 checks can be customized from here. So for example, if I want to create the new environment, I can just go click on the new. I can select the languages which can be included while designing these checks. So we have overall 5 languages available in the Q checker. So I can just click OK, and I can just create a new name here. And then I can go inside the inside my model. So I'll be having the typical the work frame of the QChecker environment where it stands the standards, CAD product, CAD standards, drawing, and there's some skeleton parts. So it has a structures like the checks which has been, you can see some of the checks has been added. So now, for example, if I wanted to go the checklist, So I can go for the criteria pool and I can just show the criteria, and you can see these are the checklist, some of them checklist. So for example, what Sushil sir has shown in the presentation, like root part name must match the root number, or root part name should be matched the cat part name. So that also checklists are here, some of the checklists, and view the fake dimensions, and some for the sheet metals parts, some for the wire harnessing, some for the FTA. So methodology, we have the methodology for the FTA or GD&T if I say so. So all those checks are available, and you can customize the each and checks as per the requirement within the name, or it has IDs which can takes you to the checklist, particular checklist if I want to go. So I'll just close this as of now. I'll just minimize it and I'll run to the queue checker. So once we get integrated in CATIA queue checker, so we have right corner queue checker that start the queue checkers. So in the starting queue checkers, we have a different options like enable the healing properties. Yes, it has the healing properties. More than half of the checks, like more than 200 plus checks, has the healing properties. Then it has the product structures, like for example, which component you want to check, all the active product parts which need to checks. Yes, and then it has some further settings, and this it has a user a queue checker help. Then it has the environment type like user and admin. So like for example, any checks I have created, so it will go into the user. So I have two checks as of now. So one I'm going to represent as a demo v5 QCC here. So I'm selecting this checks and I'm selecting the profile. So in the one checks I can create the multiple profile for the particular project. Yes, and I can run this checks. The moment I run this checks, it will take less than a minute to analyze it and tell me the structures. So I can see here from example 83 knocked out. So over there I can have the priorities, like priorities knocked out, and the errors which is a permanent, and then again not relevant. So all those details I have. Now for example, if I know that root part name, for example, so here root part name is coming with the different and it's asking for the healing. So if I want to heal this root part name, I'll select it. I'll click on a replace. I'll just rename the check. I'll remove the hash and then I'll rename it. The moment I rename it, the root part has become green. If I just do, I don't want to see all those correct checks which are they are correct. I can filter them and I can just check only the violated and general. So I can go into the violated and I can check the only violated checklist which I needed. So now, for example, again, you have a degree of freedom of the products. Again, I can go here and I can check what the error is here. Now, for example, here the degree of composites is 1. So then again, I can maybe display the criteria, what should be there. So for example, here, so I can just select here number, the degree of freedom is asking. So for example, 1, yes. And then I can just close this. Yeah, and then maybe I can go into the checklist and again I can update this. Yes, and then further we have here, for example, the priorities like knocked out. This is a high priority, so I can see here the component is not been updated. If I click the healing, so some of the time this healing apply. So here the conditions getting failed. So now for example here I have to update this checks because it's asking for the component is not been updated. So if I click on here, so it's asking for the update. So what I'll do, I'll close this and I'll go into the body. So I know this camper is creating the error. So I'll just do one thing. I'll just remove this. I'll just go inside this and I'll delete this camper. And I know that all my piston has the same errors. For example, this relation is fine. And then this is good. So now the component is fine. So here I do not have any errors. Yeah. So okay, I'll do one thing again. I'll run this checks. Simple. and yeah, so now I am just getting the piston 2. So I'll select this piston again and I'll check this piston. Just a moment. And here I have the issue. I'll check. So now, for example, here the root part name is not a permanent letter. Now I'll erase that. So I'll remove maybe the hash, the new name, and I'll replace this, update this. So now this has been updated. Yeah, and now, okay, still the same. So I'll replace this, and okay, new name is again just a moment. Okay, replace name, new name here. So I'll just replace this. Okay, it's not telling me to replace because the replacement done by the hash. So just give any name, for example, copy, and I can just, so two, maybe I can just keep it two, maybe directly if I'll try to do that. Oh, still not. So
So
okay,
in that case, the hash sign and the star sign are not permitted characters.
yes.
So if you
So
replace the star sign as well, it's fine then.
okay, yeah, so I'm just missing the star sign, and I'll just replace it now. So yeah, it's got replaced. So now its root part means are now coming into the green line. So yeah, so it's now showing the all the root part are now being achieved to the corrected mode. Yes, and then maybe I can check the empty body. So this is the empty body and I don't need it, so I can just delete this. So now there is no empty body is coming now. Yeah, and similarly, I can just go with the another parameters, like for example, deactivated features. Now, for example, if I want to deactivate it or I want to remove this. So for example, I don't want it. So I can just remove this. So now my deactivated feature has become green. And similarly, I can select the permanent elements, like it has no, so it should asking for the nets healing property as a set to no show. So I can just click on a no show, and then it's became to the no show again. That's just a moment. Yeah, so that again it got healed. And then we have the property, like the set object property is not been set. So maybe I can just click on a set and I can make it successfully. So now the correction is successfully. So that has been updated here. And then here we have few violations, the two entities of violations that is showing the entity one and entity two. So if I click on here, so now it's asking for the body. So that material must be assigned to the body, and then I can check what material should be needs to be assigned. So for example, here if I'll go here, so I can check what material needs to be assigned here. So that is missing, and then second is the third is the empty body. So maybe you can delete that empty body, and I can keep that antibody as per the requirement. And then here we have the sketch, which is not the fully constrained. So I can just go and check where exactly this sketch is not fully constrained, and I can select, or maybe if I want I can delete that if I need it. And then we have the solid wall thickness. So I can check the solid wall thickness. So for example, if I click here, so right, so now the current wall here is showing that the minimum radius for the solid face, it should be 3 mm, and then less than 3 mm. So current thickness is if I click on the face, which is crossing the different parameters, like 2.1, and here is a 2.1 different one. So I have to update that also, thickness parameters. So maybe I can go that healing is not available here. So for that you have to go again here and update those checks. yeah, so if I'll just click OK, and then I can go here. For example, I'll just click and update local, and maybe some of the things has been resolved. So again, if I'll run the checks, some of the checks has possibly get solved. So all those which the unsolved resolved features has been solved, and these other checks has been resolved. So similarly, we can just select some of the which has a lower weightage parameters, and we can go into the properties and check and edit those checks which we needed. So now, for example, material has been not assigned, so we can just assign the material if I need it, and if I don't need it, I can just remove this material which are not required. So yeah, so I hope that is fine with the demonstrations. I'm completing the demonstrations with this. So now, because of the time constraint, so we have the questions also. So now I'm moving towards. Now I'm requesting to Aniket to take over it. But if
Okay.
you have any doubt, just let us know.
Okay. Thank you, Satyam, for the demonstration. So now, okay. Thank you, Chandrakant. I think we have extended our session by quite a lot of time. So, okay. Now I would like to thanks Mr. Herbert, Mr. Sushil, Mr. Satyam, and Mr. Chandrakant for delivering a very insightful webinar today. I am very confident it was very helpful for our audience today. I would like to thanks our audience for taking their time out and joining the session. If you have any further queries related to the subject matter or any other requirement, you can always connect with us. Our details are displayed on the screen right now. You can reach out to us at any time and we would be happy to address your queries. Please do keep an eye on our upcoming webinars and seminars. You can follow us on our social media platform for same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, joining the
Thank
session.
you
Have a
all.
great
Thank
day.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day, and
Thanks. Bye bye.
yeah, yeah.